Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me here. I welcome everyone in today's webinar, and I'm really very excited to share my knowledge on Sitecore Customer Data Platform, which is recently acquired by Sitecore. We'll talk about that other acquisition, but let's concentrate on this point, Customer Data Platform, for today's webinar, which is our today's topic. So let's get started. Okay, about me. Let me introduce myself. This is Arvind Gehlot, having more than 15 years of IT experience. Played various roles throughout my career, starting from developer, project manager, then solution architect, and now I'm working as a technology lead for horizontal over 2.5 years now. Currently exploring Sitecore Content Hub, Sitecore CDP, which is our topic today, and Sitecore recent acquisitions. By nature, I'm technical blogger, and you can find more than 35 technical articles on various topics. And I'm quite active on Sitecore communities like Sitecore, Stack Exchange, LinkedIn, Slack. So you can find me on these various channels. Okay, so I'm active on Slack. This is the ID, LinkedIn, Twitter, and you find my repositories on GitHub and few code snippets on Gist. Okay, for all those who are not aware of recent acquisition done by Sitecore, I can quickly summarize few of them. First is the Style Lab, rebranded as Sitecore Content Hub. Sitecore Content Hub is a 360-degree view of your content landscape. It includes DAM, PCM, CMP, MRM, DRM, and lot many other. So you can explore if you are interested into that. The second one is 451, will be known as Cloud Order or Order Cloud, which is a headless commerce solution. So it is a headless commerce solution by Sitecore, empowering brands to tailor the digital experience to the unique needs of business buyers. The third one is BoxOver, which is our topic today, and we'll discuss a little detail inside this. And the last one, Musen. It's a state-of-the-art marketing automation, AI-powered customer engagement features, and integrated analytics and reporting, simplifies multi-channel campaigns for the market. Now, let's come to today's topic now. We will discuss about what is CDP, about Sitecore CDP, getting started with CDP, and major level concentrate on integration approaches. And those are like integrating via JavaScript, Stream APIs, Batch APIs, and interactive REST APIs. I hope everybody is with me. All fine? Annie?
Yeah, all good. Please go on.
Okay. Yep. Okay. What is CDP? So CDP is basically a customer data platform. It is a software that aggregate and organize customer data across a variety of touch points, and is used by other software systems and marketing efforts. CDP collects and structure real-time data into individual centralized customer profiles. And customer data platform enable the creation of real-time unified customer profiles by giving marketers control of the data. So we'll see how how quickly and how easily marketers can enable some of the web experiences and how he can enable the personalization using CDP. Okay, there are a few scenarios where CDP can help. So we can decide that, okay, when to go with CDP. So few of them are like you have the lot of customer data, but it is not stored in, it is stored in slow moving or inaccessible database, meaning you can't innovate and activate without months of work. You don't have place where you can join up the behavioral data. As analytical data is in huge, and if you are not making sense of that data, then you are not utilizing the data in proper way, right? So here CDP can help. Other one is you want to offer a better customer experience, but with your scale, this is difficult. Actually, maybe legacy system doesn't support the auto scaling feature, and in that way, CDP can help us. You are seeing your paid media spend rising rapidly, but are unable to use your own data to do better centralized targeting across all your paid media channels. So we can leverage CDP for that purpose as well. And last but not least, you are doing great segmentation, but you are not doing it in for multiple channels, each with unwanted nuisance and limitations. So if you are dealing with multiple channels existingly, and it might not be compatible enough for other channels, then Sitecore CDP is a choice for you. Okay, we talked about CDP. Now let's talk about Sitecore is offering in this domain. So Sitecore CDP is a basically SaaS-based offering from Sitecore, hosted in cloud, helping enterprise deliver superior customer experiences by adding data ingestion, integration, giving business users the ability to easily integrate and merge millions of customer records. They are like these are few capabilities that we can expect out of Sitecore CDP. So collect and connect, segmentation of the client, segmentation of the guest, experiments, optimized experiences, apply AI-driven digital decisioning that we will have a look, and also share activate learning from real-time audience insight across your organization. Okay. So these are the core capabilities. We are talking about Sitecore CDP here, and these are the main 4 capabilities. First is the data management, activate historic and live customer data with a real-time CDP. Which will be our main topic today, as we discussed. Second one is experimentation that enable us to test, optimize, repeat, evolve faster with the data-driven experiments. So experiments is also possible, and once experiments is done, we know better about the user behavior. Then we can apply the personalization. So personalization that help us to deliver relevant, engaging, and profitable experiences. I'll touch that very shortly in our demo regarding this. And the last one is decisioning, through which we can get the next best action or next best offer on live customer and business context, which will use this at a very high level in our demo. Okay. So these are 4 core capabilities. We'll more concentrate on data management today, and these are the topics that we will cover in a little more depth. Okay, So we will discuss about data ingestion using those events. Like events are the way where we can ingest the data into the CDP. Then we'll talk about identity resolution, which is directly relevant to the guest and guest segmentation. Then we'll talk about experiences. Under experiences, we can cover, or we'll try to cover all those experiences. The first is the web experiences. Second one is interactive experiences, and the third one is triggered experiences. We can plan another session to cover up remaining components like experimentation, decision engine, decision models, connections. So all those are additional points that we need to be aware of it. And then, like as I already mentioned, we can plan another session to cover up those points. All right, so let's move on data ingestion. Okay, so as we discussed, these are the four components, and this diagram depicts how the data from external system can be ingested into the CDP and how it can be delivered to all digital experiences or digital channels, right? So first is the Stream API, which capture all real-time behavior data from the various devices like web, mobile. So Stream API can be utilized in these devices to capture or ingest the data from these channels. Then interactive APIs, which is actually a real-time data processing that can be done via interactive APIs. So few example could be data updated and order updated, not the data updated, but the order updated. We can even manage the guest orders and few other interactions like events, what kind of events. So those can also be handled through interactive APIs. And the last one is the batch API that enable us to take large amount of slow moving data and send it to the CDP. This will take care of all your offline data. For example, new customer on direct store. Like here we are talking about real-time online data, but there could be a possibility of offline data. So customer can directly visit your physical store and order is collected and guest is identified in that offline store, and that later on that data can be synced with CDP using batch APIs. Okay, now we understood that what are the options available when we are talking about integration. Next, we will discuss in more details on each option and how we can use those. Okay, so as I already mentioned, I will basically talk about Stream APIs, batch APIs, and interactive APIs, and there are ways how we can work with Stream APIs using JavaScript. So using JavaScript, there are two ways. One is the JavaScript library that is out of the box supported and out of the box prepared from the Sitecore CDP itself. So we can just include the BoxOverJS in our page. We'll cover that in our demo, so don't worry about that. And if we do have Google Tag Manager, then we can leverage that as well. Okay, before jumping into the implementation, we need to have access to Sandbox environment. For this, all those activities. Now the question is how to get access to that Sandbox environment. To get the access to Sandbox environment, if it is not real-time data, because initially we need to start working on our test environment. So Sitecore also offers Sandbox environment for testing our integration with the Sitecore CDP Sandbox Environment. And once everything is verified and tested, then we can jump onto the real-time production environment of the Sitecore CDP or BoxOver. Okay. So to get the access, we may need to connect or contact to Sitecore enablement team, and to get in touch with enablement team, we might need to first contact to our organization, and our organization can make a request to get the access to Sitecore CDP Sandbox Environment. And you might need to share the BoxOver certificate with them. Sometimes or some cases might not be required, but if it is asked, then we may need to provide them our Sitecore BoxOver certification. Okay, so now suppose we got the Sitecore Sandbox Environment, Sitecore CDP Sandbox Environment, then we can proceed with next activity. We'll talk about how to include that BoxOverJS and other stuff. So we need to follow a few of the steps before jumping into that. So the BoxOverJS is actually a lightweight client that assign a cookie to a user using the Sitecore CDP API, and then it sends the behavioral data to the event API for processing and analysis, and then enables the real-time personalization of the website by using the interactive flow execution API that we discussed earlier. So these are a few points that we need to consider while working with JavaScript library. So we need to load that tag. So as soon as we make a reference to BoxOverJS, it will fetch that particular JS from Sitecore CDP CDN. Then the tag capture behavioral data from our website, and then that tag sends behavioral data to the event API. So we'll again cover this topic in much more detail in our demo session today. Now, how actually all those interaction happens. So as soon as you make a reference to BoxOverJS, it will be downloaded from the BoxOver CDP, and then your browser will send a request to BoxOver to get the unique ID to represent your device. And as soon as you get the unique ID, that unique ID will be stored in the cookie, and then you need to pass that ID each time whenever you are sending the behavioral data to the Sitecore CDP. And the same thing we need to do, or we need to send with the while triggering any kind of flow execution, like we already discussed about web experiences and interactive experiences, and that will cover in our demo as well. So that ID will be, that unique ID is very, very important, and we'll cover that up. Now, to start with this, we need to follow these steps. So paste JavaScript code snippet in our site pages, verify that we are getting BoxOver browser ID. We'll check that how to get that, and then start sending events to Sitecore CDP. And then we will verify that how those events looks like into the BoxOver. So we will check that. Okay. Now code snippet. So this is the sample JavaScript snippet that we discussed. If you closely look into this, you can see that there is a object called BoxOver Q. Q represent Q that makes the synchronous syntax possible. It acts as a queue, which is a first in, first out data structure that collect function calls until the BoxOverMin.js is ready to execute them. So as soon as your page is being rendered onto the client browser, BoxOverJS might take little time to download it properly on the client side. Till that time, we can leverage this queue object to collect all those events that we want to collect. So we'll use that queue to make or to create a queue so that as soon as that JS is downloaded at the client side, it start pushing all those events to the Sitecore CDP. And to push that, we'll use the push method. We'll check in our demo. Okay, so the next one is Google Tag Manager. So many of our customers like to use Google Tag Manager to deploy Sitecore CDP Web Data Captures tag. Of course, you can use other tags managers, but I think GTM is often favored as it is ready in use by many organizations to handle tags for Google Analytics. So if that Google tags are already present on your application, then things are more easier to configure. And advantage of GTM are, like, I hope everybody is aware that it's very neat and clean code. If we have included that Google Tag Manager in the application, then no need of any kind of deployment on script changes. So suppose we want to make some changes or we want to add some scripts, then we don't need to make a deployment on to the UOD or production environment. And it is also easy to manage, right? So those are the advantage of using Google Tag Manager. And these are the commonly used terms that we are using while working with GTM. So tags, I hope everybody is aware of the tags, tag management system, data layers. We can create our own data layer and then we can pass that data layer into the various functions. So we'll cover that part as well. Okay, and what steps that we need to follow in terms of integrating Google Tag Manager for Sitecore CDP. So we just need to log into the GTM, select the account or container, copy the script from the specific account and put that into your page in the head and body section, and then you are good to go. Then everything else can be taken care at the GTM sites only, and we don't need to worry about anything on the local page. Okay, so if we are going to use the GTM, then we might need to create a custom tag, and this is how custom tag will look like. So we need to pass, as we already discussed about the script section, these are the things that we need to take care. We may need to replace the client key. This is the sample client key that I'm using to call the CDP. And that is the target that we need to mention. This is the cookie domain. So whatever the cookie domain we have, we can pass it. We need to mention the JavaScript library version and point of sale that can be configured in the Sitecore CDP side. And this is the URL that we may need to use to hit the Sitecore CDP. So we'll go again a little more detail with this. Then attach that trigger on DOM ready and then publish the tag, and then we are good to go. Everything is now perfectly configured for your application. Okay, so now BoxOver provides a suite of API services that makes data management easier, faster, and more efficient. The Stream API that we discussed capture the fast-flowing, high-velocity event data as it's generated on your organization website. The capturing of event over the web and mobile channels is facilitated through the Stream API, as well as the BoxOver JavaScript library. Stream APIs can also be deployed in conjunction with the data layer that we already discussed. So using Stream APIs, we can trigger two types of things. Like we can use the browser API and we can use the event API. Browser API can be used for identifying the current user unique key that is being created into the Sitecore CDP, and we can also get the unique key that is associated with the guest. So there are two things. There might be many interactions that can be made by single guest, and that guest is identified as a single entity in the CDP, but that guest might have multiple various interactions on various channels. So we'll also discuss about that part as well. And the second one is event API. An event API where we can leverage this to record various events into the CDP. Like search might be a event. Putting your order, putting your product into the cart might be an event. Making the order itself can be an event. So those events can be triggered using event APIs. Okay. So additional points, the characteristics of the Stream API. Like these are the characteristics that that we can find out, okay, when to use the Stream API. So that will give you a better idea. Like it supports synchronous calls, write-only data. So through Stream APIs, we can collect the write-only data and put that into the CDP. So in that case, we should always use the Stream API. Process structured data, capture online events, facilitate online data capture, and event-based streams. So those are few characteristics that we can leverage while working with Stream API. When to use what? Like we discussed about two things. So now it's time to check that when to use what, when to use the BoxOver library, and when to use GTM. So if you are working on web app, you can use BoxOver library. If you are already using GTM on your web page, you can inject required script into the existing GTM tag itself. And if you are working on native mobile app, then you should directly use the Stream API. And if you are working on hybrid app, then we can use both in respective section, like both BoxOver libraries and GTM tags to make it responsive. If we are working on hybrid application, and we can also make a direct Stream API call in a particular section, right? Okay, now next one is the batch API. BoxOver APIs are generally being used for integration purpose and offline job. So we briefly discussed about offline job, and we'll cover here a little more details, not much, but a little more details. And so offline jobs can be configured, as we already mentioned, that customer can directly visit your physical offline store. And then in a day, we might have multiple customers, and those customers might make many of orders. And those offline jobs can be integrated into the Sitecore CDP as a nightly job using batch APIs. So it supports the uploading of large amount of data in an efficient manner. And this example could be something like we already discussed, guest, order, and tracking events. So these, if we find out that situation, then we can always go with batch APIs. Okay, when to use batch, we already discussed. to make offline entries, offline data ingestion to the Sitecore CDP. It comes with greater flexibility in guest segmentation. So guest segmentation can also be synced in offline manner, and any high level of sophisticated business logic that we need to apply with the decision logic. So that can also be, so decision logics can also be put inside the Sitecore CDP using batch APIs, and for the deeper analytics as well. So these are the situations that we might use the batch APIs. Okay, how to use it? So there are again few steps that we might need to follow, and we have to follow that to properly integrate those batch APIs. So first, we need to get our JSON file, whatever it is, like whether it is a guest JSON file if we want to sync, or if we want to create new guest records into the Sitecore CDP. We might need to have a JSON that we need to make ready, and along with that, we can also collect the orders for those guests as well. So we need to make that JSON file ready. Then we need to make a compressed gzip file with that extension .zz. So we have to be very particular on that. So gzip compression, we have to make it. And then we need to produce checksum either programmatically or manually. So we need to do that. And then we need to generate a unique GUID for the batch file. That GUID will be further utilized in Sitecore CDP to uniquely identify the record, and then trigger a request to BoxOver to allocate a location for the batch file. So it will allocate that location in the AWS server. So it will store that particular file into the AWS server S3 bucket, and then it will fetch that particular file from AWS and process it as and when needed. So that is the exact step that we need to follow. So we already discussed about this, and as soon as we trigger the batch update, we will get the URL, this kind of URL back in the API response, and that URL will be utilized for checking the status of the uploaded file. So if we trigger this API call, then we'll get the status of this particular GUID that we pass on while making a batch update. We'll check that if time allows, we'll check that as well. Now, interactive REST APIs. The interactive REST APIs are just like other REST APIs to interact with the system. You can almost do everything via interactive REST APIs, what we can do via BoxOver app portal itself. So there are various things that BoxOver app provides us, like creating a guest, not creating, but tracking a guest, dealing with guests, creating the orders, creating a connection, creating the experiences like web experiences, interactive experiences, triggered experiences. So all those can also be managed through interactive REST APIs as well. BoxOver also exposes resources through the interactive APIs, which provide a flexible method of supplying data formatted in a standard way. So as I already mentioned, that those REST APIs like can be leveraged to perform an operations that might be performed, that can be performed through the portal itself. So if you don't have access to portal, but you got an API key that you can pass on while making these REST-based API calls, then you are good to go. You can manage everything from the REST APIs as well. Okay, so when to use interactive REST APIs? So when we need synchronous access to BoxOver server. So as we already mentioned that we can perform almost all operations via interactive REST APIs, but those calls are synchronous in nature. So the changes or updates will be reflected in Sitecore CDP instantly. And where there is a need of managing data extension automation. So if we need to automate it, like if we need to perform some operation on other system or other application, and you want to automate that, if you want to automatically create an order or guest into the Sitecore CDP, then we might go for interactive REST APIs way. Okay, now these are the readily APIs available when we are talking about REST APIs. So as we already discussed, the guest that can be managed through REST interactive APIs, guest data extension, order items, order contexts, audience syncs. However, these audience syncs, decision model syncing, those are not readily available yet. Those features are in progress from Sitecore CDP, and those are not enabled in our sandbox environment yet. So, and the roadmap for those features might be in next cycle from like Q4, or might be in Q1 of the next year. Okay, now I think we are good to go on demo side. It's all done. Maybe you are feeling a little bored, so we'll jump on to the demo. I hope everybody is with me. Annie, can you confirm?
Yes, Arvind, go on.
Okay, fine. So let's switch on to the demo. Where it is. Okay, for demo purpose, what I did is I have a very standard application. I mean, I'm trying to cover a few things, so I don't have anything within this portal. There is no at all integration with the Sitecore CDP, and as and when we are progressing with the demo, we should be able to integrate this portal or this page with Sitecore CDP. So as we already mentioned that we will cover everything, like we'll try to bring this page onto the Sitecore CDP. So what was the first step that we need to follow is the script that we discussed. I have readily have that script in my local system, and what I can do is I can just copy and paste it. And this was the script that I wanted to put inside that page, and that page is demo. We'll go again. So here, if you can see that I'm trying to access the demo.html. So this is the page, and I just need to put that code snippet here. From where we'll collect that client key, we'll discuss. We'll discuss about that. We'll show you how to get that key, and few of the information that we can provide, like that information that we need to pass, like target and cookie domain. Cookie domain could be anything from your local system, and we can pass this value as an hard code right now, because this is also required. You might not get this value in the documentation part, but this is what we need to provide while while talking with Sitecore CDP, and the point of sale that we'll also look how we can get this information from Sitecore CDP. So let's connect to the Sitecore CDP to get the client key. So if you get the access to instance, right now I'm having the shared environment of the Sitecore. So when I'm talking about shared environment, means other users are also using the same instance, and we might see some of the changes and some of the other stuff into the instance as well. So let's collect that key that we were talking about. And to collect the key, once you are logged into the Sandbox environment, you just need to click on the partner Sandbox, and you just need to click on your login details or your user details. And here we have the API access, and this is the client key that we can use. So the same client key we are using that in the demo page. And the point of sale currently that we don't need. If you need, we can have it. If not, then we might not need to pass. But here is the point of sale that we need to create if we want to pass. So we just need to create it, add the data, and we are ready to pass that information. So we'll check that I already created this point of sale and I'm using this. So let's find that whether it is available or not. So yeah, this is the point of sale. So that is being used for the point of sale. It could be the online channel, it could be offline channel. We can pass any kind of offline shop that we might have. So depending on the channel we are interacting with Sitecore CDP, we can create a point of sale here, and the same channel we need to pass while making a call to Sitecore CDP, and that is the default script that we need to pass. Once it is inserted into the page, so I have included this, and let's see that how. So we just included the script, nothing else. And there is no change at all onto the page because we just included the script. And now BoxOver can recognize this application. And now we are good to go to trigger any kind of event. So for a quick check, what we can do is whether it is configured correctly or not. What we can do is we can check that we can just just call this method, and if we are getting something from the Sitecore CDP, then we are good to go. So now it is, if you are getting this GUID, which is the unique ID that we discussed during our discussion, this is the unique ID, and that unique ID is stored in the cookie. And that unique ID we need to pass. So we'll go in that detail as well. So for now, what I can do is here you can say that user is still anonymous and nothing happens. The page is exactly the same. Now let's talk about the web experiences, which is the very important first step that need to be taken care. And web experience is basically for marketers. So while working with web experience, even though like I haven't covered that part, but you can find that particular the ID that we got as a part of sorry, where is that? Here. Let's verify that that ID is readily available in the CDP or not. This is the ID, and Let's search for guest. Yeah, so this is the user that is this ID is associated with. Now, what I can do is I can clear up the cookie because it is recognized because of my previous interaction. So let's remove and clear out the cookie. And then next time when we reload a page, it will request that new GUID from the box server, and that time the user will be different. Okay, so now we will get the different ID, not the same one, because we cleared the cookie. Now Sitecore CDP doesn't recognize this particular user. Fine. Now, so go back to the box server and let's configure one web experience that we already discussed. That web experiences is marketer friendly, and marketers can come here, they can create web experiences here, and then straightforwardly that experiences can be reflected into the portal side. So let's I have already created a web experiences that we already discussed, that this will not be a part of our topic today because it need a little more time to discuss. So that web experience is readily available with me. So let me start this, and as soon as I start, I should be able to get something here. So that was the web experience that I got, and that is coming from directly CDP. We didn't make any change in the demo.html page. We just included the script section, and then rest everything is taken care by CDP itself. So that configuration, that pop-up is being rendered via Sitecore CDP. So now you don't need to have the access to this portal or this web page to include this particular section or whatever kind of notification that we might have. So that notification can be directly configured through Sitecore CDP itself, right? Now, what we can do is we can identify the current guest. Current guest is anonymous. We can identify the current guest, and I can pass the information that I may have. So I have already recognized where with the ARV1. Let's try with ARV2. And submit. So now guest is identified. Let's see whether it is being reflected here or not. Now, that is also managed through Sitecore CDP itself. As I triggered the stream API to identify the guest, will also cover that in little more details in next couple of minutes. Now, that is also configured through the web experiences, and now the user ID is being replaced here in the app. I need to make it fast because I think the time is already passed. Okay.
We can go on
might
for
be
another
moving.
10 minutes. Arvind, if that
Oh,
works.
okay. Okay, fine. So let me cover that up quickly. Okay, so now user is identified. Now, what kind of other information that we identified and that we can trigger with the CDP will quickly identify. So we'll talk about sessions. Regarding sessions, we already discussed about the browser ID, which is the unique ID. So I have created this application. You can see that I also mentioned the browser ID. What is the browser ID definition? Browser ID is a unique identification number generated by BoxOver for each device or client that we already discussed, how we can use it, that we need to, like, how we can use it. That is the BoxOver.get ID that we recently checked in the developer section, right? Okay, so it will not work because we haven't put anything, like we haven't triggered anything. That was the developer toolbar that we used, but how we can use it in the page itself. So let's go back and copy all those scripts that I can call. So those scripts I need to pass. I'll not go one by one for all those events, but I can paste it all in one go. But those are I'll explain those and try to cover in from the portal itself. So I'll put that everything in the body section at the end here. And what was wrong? I think I wrongly pasted. Okay, I missed this. Okay, now let me refresh this. And to get browser ID, we already mentioned that browser.getID that we need to hit. So now I get the new ID. Then identity that we discussed. To identify that web experiences, we need to pass that email address, and that has been used to identify the guest. There is another way, like that was the automated way, but we can also trigger the event from our side, and that is done through identity event. So we can hit this, and with the identity event, I can tell you, okay, this was not the one. And where is that identity event? Here is the identity event, right? So we need to create the event, and the type of that event could be identity, and that will be automatically identified. So if I hit that, my user should be changed with this. So let's do this, and I'm hitting it this. I should be able to see ARV1 here, right? And I can see that that is being reflected. Now, this is the identity event. Next is guest ID. Guest ID is, I already mentioned that guest ID could be unique for the user, but browser ID could be depending on the channel that you are using. So, but from interaction, from the browser ID, you can also get a chance to get or determine the guest ID as well. So here is how we can get this. So this is the internal event that I pass on the browser ID, and in response, I'm getting the event ID, and this is the one. So I'm triggering this. I'm passing the BoxOver ID that we discussed, and in response, I'm getting the customer reference. So this is the guest ID that has been identified. And the session can be created. Session will be created automatically, but you can forcefully close this. And to close this, we can have the another event, and that event is like this, force close. So the event can be triggered in the similar way, but it depends on what are the metadata that you are passing while creating that event. So here in this case, we are just passing the type, and type is force close. So when we are passing this force close, it will terminate the current session from the browser. This is related to session. Now let's move on to the events that we can trigger the event. So as we already mentioned that how many ways we can use BoxOver, using BoxOver library, using the queue that we discussed, queue object, and using the HTTP request that will directly trigger the HTTP request, directly hit the CDP server without any library. So I'll quickly go through this as well, how to pass that. So the same way, creating the event, but this time the type could be the search event. So I can pass the type as a search event and the same event create event. So that will hit this, and that is actually a push. So where is the push event? Actually, not. This is not the push actually. Yeah. Where is that? Okay, this is. Let me handle. I think something is missing here. This is the direct HTTP request call. So we are not using any kind of BoxOver events. So we are directly making a request to Sitecore CDP using stream events. So here we are using the BoxOver library to trigger an event, but here in this case, we are directly making use of stream API that we already discussed, right? So here we are hitting the request, and that are some additional information we got in the response. This is the queue, like using the queue object that we are triggering. So I may be sharing this page with you so that you can directly play with this page. So to get the better information how the implementation take place. And the next one is the experiences. We already discussed about the web experiences that pop up appeared from bottom right. That was the part of web experiences. We can also trigger the interactive experiences where we can get the offer or next best offer from Sitecore CDP. And that is actually a part of the personalization implementation from CDP. So here, let's check that what offer I can have on the basis of the interaction. So for that, I need to enable the web experiences. I need to enable the interactive experiences. So I have already created the interactive experiences, and I can start this. And then I can make a call. So now, see, I didn't do anything on the page. I just make full stack experiences or interactive experiences into the Sitecore CDP. And now I got the 10% off. So that is completely managed by Sitecore CDP. And we just hit this, we just need to hit that API, and that API response will give you the offer or next best offer on the basis of the configuration that was made in the Sitecore CDP. So I have configured on the basis of gender. Like if it is male, then it is 10% off. If it is female, then you'll get 20% off. That can be configured in Sitecore CDP. And the next one is the triggered experiences. Like when to use triggered experiences, we already discussed. And so we can configure a custom event to trigger a triggered experiences. In my case, I trigger one particular event, and the event type could be trigger experiences. Send mail, that is a specific. Okay, so this was the custom event type that I need to pass, and that will internally trigger the triggered experience from the CDP, and then user will get the email with the next best offer. So in this case, we'll get the next best offer in form of triggered experiences. So triggered experiences could be email and could be SMS directly on your mobile device. There is another way, like I already mentioned. I just have a couple of minutes, so I just need to cover that up, the last one. So that is also fetched from Sitecore CDP. I can hit the identity event with some different changes. So I can make ARV20, ARV21 something, and just modifying my last name and hitting the identity event. And next time I should be able to get these information, and that information is bringing from CDP. I can again hit my default identity, and that will again replace the values that we can see it here. So yeah, so it is again replaced Arvind. The first name is already replaced with Arvind with the default identification event. Okay, so this is all about. I know it's a bit in hurry. Most interesting part of the demo, and we covered it in very hurry, very quickly. So apologies for that. But we can certainly plan a separate session on covering up the remaining part. Okay, we can quickly move on to the next. If we do have scope for Q&A, Annie, you can mention. Otherwise, we can go ahead, and team, you can connect me with all those channels that I mentioned previously to get a little more details if you have any questions that